This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Heather Sells. School officials say a Kentucky high school is closed today because of security concerns. They made the move after threats following an incident at Friday's March for Life in Washington, D.C., an incident that has since gone viral. Our Mark Martin joins us now in the CBN newsroom with the update. Mark?
Heather, school leaders shut the doors of Covington Catholic High School and canceled activities today. The students who are falsely accused of targeting a Native American demonstrator in Washington, D.C. have faced a massive wave of extremist left-wing attacks. The mob of ranting, unhinged social media users has leveled threats of death and violence, while others have been trying to have the boys' parents even fired from their jobs. Two of the Covington students are telling their side of the story on YouTube, speaking out about all the hate-filled backlash they, their classmates, and families have received.
There have been many threats against our lives, against our parents. Some of these threats include that we should all be locked in the school and it should be burnt to the ground, the school being bombed, school shooting threats. It's really scary. It all spews from a 30-second clip taken out of a 2-hour video out of context, and people jump into conclusions before the full story is released.
Now, the situation started after an edited video was posted of Covington student Nick Sandman standing in front of Native American activist Nathan Phillips. Both say they were just trying to defuse a situation between their groups and a group called the Black Hebrew Israelites. The clip went viral and created a firestorm. Many in the media and Hollywood attacked the students for harassing Phillips before more videos were released. President Donald Trump weighed in after more details came out about the incident, tweeting in part, "The students were treated unfairly with early judgments proving out to be false, smeared by media." The principal of Covington Catholic High School is asking that people continue to keep the Covington Catholic community in your prayers. Heather?
What we know so far, what about tomorrow? Will school open?
A local NBC affiliate says Commonwealth's attorney Rob Sanders reports law enforcement and school officials say they have a plan in place to keep students safe when they come back to school, but they're not releasing any more information. Heather?
Thanks, Mark. A new study shows that the majority of Americans do not feel that the media understands them. Pew Research Center came out with results that show overall 58% feel this way. Republicans are the most likely to feel misunderstood at 73%. For Democrats, 40% say they feel the same way. This data was collected from more than 5,000 Americans last year. Well, for more on this, we are joined by Jenna Ellis with the Dobson Family Institute. Jenna, this Pew report shows that more than half of U.S. adults don't think that the news media understands them. Is that what you see happening? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think that this reflects the attitude of most of the media that really we're not seeing facts being reported. We're seeing only breaking opinion. And that opinion is driven by an agenda, and it manipulates facts in order to advance a narrative. And of course, as Christians, we need to be concerned that we are fundamentally seeking truth and that we are not just pushing an agenda, but rather are conserving truth and making sure that really everyone's voice is heard, and that we also understand the principles that our founding fathers especially gave for our government, a civil society, and just how we communicate with each other. So I think that this poll, really what it reflects is the manipulation of media to really go against truth and to be a post-truth society. So we need to be very careful as Christians who we're paying attention to and also what we share.
Jenna, let me just interrupt you here. What in particular do you think the news media does that causes just adults overall to say, you don't understand me?
Well, I think that comes from the fact that there are so many opinion-based news pieces rather than simply reporting the facts. And so when people are saying you don't understand me, they're watching some of these videos like the viral video that we just talked about of the Covington school that's taken totally out of context. And so when we can't trust media and journalism to accurately report the facts and they're twisting and manipulating the narrative, then that causes a fundamental distrust of media.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of concern about the future of our democracy when you have people saying the media doesn't understand me, I don't trust the media. Where do you see this all going?
Well, I hope that this gives everyone in our culture to pause and reflect what it is that we're pursuing. Are we really sincerely pursuing truth? Can we trust those who are in power? Can we trust the media? And it's incumbent upon Christians then to get involved in the media to make sure that we are taking the appropriate steps, not only to share content that is true, that is fact-based, but also that we are preserving and protecting our government, and we're making sure that the media reporting on those things is doing so fairly and accurately.
All right. Well, Jenna Ellis with the Dobson Family Institute, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Heather.
Well, looking at weather right now, temperatures are slowly climbing out of a deep freeze in the east and Midwest from Winter Storm Harper. But now another storm is getting ready to blanket parts of the deep south. A blast of Arctic air could bring rain, snow, and ice there later this week. All that while Winter Storm Harper continues to linger. This past weekend, some 75 million people in states stretching from Missouri to Maine face some of the coldest temperatures and largest snowfall of the season. Well, with the government in its fifth week of a partial shutdown, President Trump's plan to reopen the government heads for Senate action this week. If a deal is not cut by midnight tonight, it will be the second paycheck in a row that 800,000 federal employees will not see. White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley blamed the Democrats for not reaching out to the White House to compromise and reach a solution. Gidley saying they've given House Speaker Nancy Pelosi several chances to negotiate.
Until she's serious about having a conversation and come to the table, she knows that the fact that she has a standing invitation here anytime she wants to come and anytime she wants to talk to the president. The American people deserve that, and this partisan bickering she's engaged in, holding the American people hostage, playing politics with people's lives, she's got to come here and negotiate, and we can get something done for the American people.
And no Democrat has publicly expressed support for the proposal Trump announced over the weekend. Well, the Supreme Court ruled today that President Trump's transgender military ban can go into effect. The president first announced the policy in July of 2017. It blocks transgender individuals from serving with limited exceptions. Despite a push from the Trump administration, the justices did not rule on the merits of the case, but today's ruling does allow the ban to go forward while the lower courts continue to work through it. Israel and the U.S. successfully tested the Arrow 3 anti-missile system early today. That is according to the Israeli Ministry of Defense. The test came just one day after tensions flared along Israel's northern border with Syria. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us more on that from Jerusalem.
The Arrow 3 system is designed to shoot down ballistic missiles like the kind Iran could one day launch against Israel, intercepting them outside the atmosphere. The Arrow is part of Israel's multi-layered defense that includes the Iron Dome and David's Sling. That system was put to the test when Iranian forces inside Syria launched a rocket toward Israel's Mount Hermon ski resort on the Golan Heights. Israel's Iron Dome anti-rocket system intercepted the rocket and was caught here by a skier on a helmet-mounted camera. Israel launched a massive retaliatory strike at Iranian targets inside Syria. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is carrying out what he called preemptive self-defense.
Israel will continue to block Iran's efforts to use Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza as forward bases for attacking Israel for the express purpose which they openly declare, destroying Israel. No country should stand aside while its destruction is being planned or advanced. And Israel exercises its basic right of self-defense and preemptive self-defense, a right that exists for every nation.
Syrian lawmaker Fatma Kames said the Israeli strikes are only aimed at Iranian targets.
Our air defense has confronted these jets and shot them all down. They're not targeting Iranians or any of our other allies. They're targeting Syrian forces.
But according to the IDF, it's the third time Iran has tried to attack Israel over the last year and shows just how deeply Iran is entrenched in Syria.
Syria is now paying the price for allowing Iran its expansionist policies from Syrian soil. The IDF remains committed and determined to continue to defend Israeli civilians and sovereignty against Iranian aggression.
For now, it's quiet, but the Israeli military says the attack on the Golan Heights shows the intent behind Iran's presence in Syria and how it can destabilize the region. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
The death toll from a Taliban assault on a military base in Afghanistan has climbed to 45. Afghan officials said today that as many as 70 people were wounded in Monday's attack. Most of the victims were military personnel, but officials say 3 attackers also died. The assault began when a suicide bomber drove into the base and detonated his load as he rammed his vehicle into the main building. The base serves as a training center for a pro-government militia and is run by the country's intelligence service. Coming up is the refugee situation out of control in Europe, how the United Nations is handling the influx of migrant and refugee children.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
The United Nations Children's Fund is urging European governments to agree on a region-wide approach to better protect refugee and migrant children. The organization said that in just the first 2 weeks of this month, about 400 of these children arrived on the shores of Greece, Italy, and Spain. The concern, these children are enduring dangerous journeys in the winter months with freezing temperatures and rough waters. Officials are calling for a quicker response time to make recovery efforts more efficient and for resettlement pledges that prioritize children. The organization also stressed that faster family reunification procedures from all EU member states were also urgently needed. Well, a new report by the World Health Organization says European authorities are struggling to meet the needs of refugees due to them being wrongly accused of spreading sickness. The World Health Organization released the report Monday based on a preview of more than 13,000 documents on the health of refugees and migrants. Health officials say the refugees and migrants that arrive in Europe do not bring any exotic diseases with them. They say the refugees are actually more at risk of developing ill health than their host communities due to a lack of health care.
I don't think that in most of the countries the illegal migrants have access to the health systems, health services. So that is an area where we have to do substantial additional work and conviction of the countries. Because the best way to protect their own population and the refugees is to give them access.
The WHO report also stated that citizens think that there are 3 or 4 times as many migrants in their country than the actual data shows. And joining us now is CBN senior international correspondent Gary Lane. Gary, you have spent some time in these migrant camps, and there is renewed concern now about children, health, the winter months.
Certainly.
What have you seen happening in camps?
Well, in the ones in Europe, you know, I was on the Hungarian border about 3.5 years ago as we saw 6,000 migrants coming in per day. Now, most of them were just processed right through. They weren't really checked medically. They looked pretty good, like they're in pretty good condition, but who knows? They were sent on to Germany. Now, once they arrived in Germany, they were put in refugee centers, like dormitories, old military barracks, and there they were taken care of and their health was monitored. But, you know, it's a long journey, Heather, and a lot of people become very fatigued. And once they arrive, they have to adjust to a new culture.
Yeah. Well, so they're up against that. These
Sure.
reports are seeming to indicate that it's not so much that they're coming in unhealthy,
Yes.
but that they don't have health care to begin with, and that in turn affects the whole population, of course. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot of strain on those countries in Europe right now. Their economic growth is down. Germany, I think, is in the negative range in the last couple quarters. So it's putting a lot of strain on those countries. They're trying to do what they can. But in addition to that, Heather, there aren't a lot of missionaries, medical missionaries, going to Europe. They all want to go to Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and they could use some volunteers there that could provide free health care for many of them.
Where do you see all this going? Do you see this migrant influx slowing down anytime soon?
I think there's a backlash right now, especially in Europe. The Europeans seem to be becoming more intolerant of migrants that are coming through for good reason. Many of them are not assimilating, and we've seen a lot of terrorism in Europe coming from radical Muslims. So, you know, there's the idea that one bad apple spoils a whole bunch, right? And so even though most of the people are very innocent and very well-meaning, there are a few that are spoiling it. And I think there's not a lot of stomach in Europe right now to help migrants, and that's unfortunate because many of them need the health care.
Yeah, and it affects everyone in the end.
Certainly it does.
Yeah, all right. Well, Gary Lane, thanks for your insights. Certainly. Well, make sure to catch the latest episode of Healthy Living tonight on CBN News with Lori Johnson. She talks with Danielle Walker about her struggle with an autoimmune disease and how changing her diet helped heal her. She also talks about her new book, Eat What You Love, which came out of her journey toward healing and still having the foods she likes. You can see Lori's full interview with Danielle Walker tonight on Healthy Living at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, the story of a pastor who chose to go to jail rather than give up his right to stand outside an abortion clinic promoting life and offering help for women going there.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I Wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern Gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Today is the 46th anniversary of Roe v. Wade becoming law. The latest national statistics are from 2015 and show 638,169 abortions were performed that year. Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, performed 332,757 abortions last year alone. Students for Life reports that 1/4 of American women have had an abortion by age 45, and more than 30% of those are performed on African American women. Well, the story of an African American pastor's stand for life is getting attention in this Sanctity of Life month. Pastor Walter Hoy actually spent time in jail for his beliefs. He was arrested after standing outside an Oakland, California abortion clinic holding a pro-life sign that read, "God loves you and your baby, let us help you," which violated a law there. The book Black and Pro-Life in America was recently released, telling what happened to Pastor Hoy. And Robert Artigo authored the book and joins us now with more on Walter's story. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, briefly tell us what happened. How is it that he was standing outside with a sign and got arrested?
Well, this is a for-profit abortion clinic in Oakland, California, and he made an appearance, a short appearance, at a Walk for Life in San Francisco, and some pro-life Catholics who spent some time in front of this clinic saw him, and eventually they got connected and invited Walter to come and stand on the sidewalk with them just 2 hours during the week, just on one day, 2 hours in the morning. And right from the beginning, the clinic contacted the city council in Oakland. One thing led to another, and they created a bubble law, which was essentially tailor-made to stop Walter from being out there. Apparently, they had the same idea the Catholics had. These were white, older Catholics, and they thought having an African-American face out there would be helpful, since most of the women going in were African-American. And of course, Walter fit that bill. He stands out there, and the abortion clinic sees, uh-oh, this is going to be a problem for us, and cut into our bottom line. They created the law. They got him charged with the crime, and then they held a trial. And that's a whole other part of the story. But I mean, it's all covered in this book, quite in depth.
But just rushing to the end of the story, let me just ask you, what happened? Sure. Was he actually behind bars, and for how long?
He got 30 days, and that was more of a compromise for the judge, because the DA's office, when Walter refused the stay-away order, which is what they ultimately wanted, was a stay-away order, but Walter declined to accept that as part of a deal that kept him out of jail. So they sent him to jail. The DA wanted 2 years in jail for this, and Walter was sent to jail during this time of year. In fact, it was 10 years ago this month.
Wow. And tell us, what is he doing today?
Well, he's preparing for Sunday's walk, or rather Saturday's walk in San Francisco, where he'll speak there. And obviously he's out on a speaking tour. He's been a prominent voice for getting the message out there that, as you mentioned, the statistics bear it out. Black Americans are predominantly the people targeted by these abortion clinics.
Well, it's such an interesting story. I haven't heard of him. I don't know how many people have. But let me ask you, I understand that Walter Hoy knew Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and the foreword to your book was written by Alveda King. Tell us a little bit about that connection.
Well, we were blessed by having Alveda do the foreword for the book. Walter grew up in Detroit. His family, and including his sister and parents, they went out and they marched with Martin Luther King in Detroit back in the late 50s. So this was an early rendition of that "I Have a Dream" speech, where that famous speech. And well, Walter, of course, is inspired and influenced by Dr. King, and he became friends with Alveda King over the years, talking about the issues of Black and pro-life in America. So that's the connection right there, and clearly it's an important one for Walter, and it's also an important one in the abortion question, because the Planned Parenthood folks, they claim Martin Luther King as a guy who fights for civil rights, and he's their guy. But ultimately, Alveda King, who wrote the foreword for the book, says that Dr. Martin Luther King was not into what Planned Parenthood was talking about at the time.
Well, yeah, really fascinating overlap between the civil rights movement and the pro-life movement. Robert Artigo, thanks for the book and your time here.
Sure. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
After the break, how the daughter of a Nazi has dedicated her life to help restore Jewish culture in Germany.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
The daughter of a Nazi architect has been awarded the Obermeyer German Jewish History Award for founding a project that supports Jewish women's creative projects in Germany. Hild Schramm's foundation uses the proceeds of art and other items looted from Jews during World War II to now help contribute to the revival of Jewish life in Germany. She started the organization in 1994 after she inherited several paintings collected by her Nazi father. The award presented to her on Monday was one of 6 being presented by the organization, which was established in 2000 to recognize the efforts of non-Jewish Germans to keep alive the nation's Jewish cultural past. And that is all for today. We hope that you'll join us next time. Have a great day.